Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Hard Count Football Podcast live. My name is Jacob Charnow, leading the next generation of football fans live right here on the Hard Count Football YouTube channel and on Bucks Report. Tonight, we have a very exciting show for everybody. Harry the Greek will be joining us to talk a little bit about Zach Wilson, all these trades that are happening in the NFL just last Friday, and of course, Harry the Greek's first mock draft, his 1.0. We're going to talk about his top 10 picks, dissect them, talk about all the teams, and get into it. So let's talk some football right away while we wait for him here. Let's talk Zach Wilson, right? We know Trevor Lawrence going number one to the Jaguars. Urban Meyer comes out. They said they're headed in that direction. We've known this forever. We knew Trevor Lawrence was going to be the number one pick 3 years ago. There was never any doubt. If you think there's any doubt that he goes number one, do me a favor, stop thinking that. Stop thinking it, because it's not true. He's going number one. Then, so essentially, the New York Jets are on the clock right now, right? Their options are as follows. They can draft a quarterback and trade Sam Darnold. They can draft a quarterback and keep Sam Darnold. They can not draft a quarterback and keep Sam Darnold, or they can draft a non-quarterback and still get rid of Sam Darnold. That's not going to happen. That's the unlikely option here. But from what we've seen from some of these prospects already, Zach Wilson's pro day was just on Friday. Justin Fields had his pro day today. Mac Jones threw the ball for the second time today. Trey Lance already had his pro day. What we know is that this draft class is so extremely deep. There is so much there is just so much talent, right? The fact that even if you're picking in the early to mid-second round, you're still getting first-round talent. So hypothetically, because this is Bucks Report, if the Buccaneers do trade down from 32, the Bucks could still get a first-round talent at, let's say, pick 46 or 45 or wherever it is, right? Just because it's that deep. The receivers, there's probably 6 first-round caliber receivers. There's a ton of defensive guys, a ton of corners. I mean, the quarterbacks are going to be, the chance that we could see 5 quarterbacks get taken in the top 10 is unheard of, right? This is a year that we are going to remember. In 3 years or 4 years, we're going to say, remember the 2021 NFL draft class? That's going to be this team. That is going to be this class. You're going to see these 3rd, 4th round guys who are these Alvin Kamara, stuff like that. Kenneth Gainwell's fantastic running back. Run between the running backs, the receivers, so much talent. These guys are going to be good. I think there's some, it's hard to say it right now, and I hate using this word, but I think there's a ton of surefire talent in this draft class. I think there is a ton of guys that are locks to be solid players in the NFL. Between the edge rushers, the only place where this draft class lacks is on the interior offensive line and on the interior defensive line, right? You have Christian Barmore, who's the only really first-round caliber interior defensive lineman that I can see. And then between Elijah Vera Tucker and Wyatt Davis, those are the 2 main interior offensive linemen. But everyone else, every other position on the field has a ton of depth. So I think this might be the first time he's talking draft to us. We actually have 2 special guests. One on top of Harry the Greek. We also have the other host of the Over Under on Wednesday nights here on Bucks Report. Let's bring them both in right now. Harry the Greek and Tampa Bay Ray. What's going on, guys? How are both of you tonight?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thank you so much for letting me come on tonight.
Absolutely. Ray, how are you?
Jake, I'm great. Thanks for having me tonight. I love that you're talking about the draft, because I tell you what, I don't know if it's COVID-19 or crazy 2020. The Bucks won a Super Bowl, but I cannot remember the last time I saw a draft that maybe this upside down, or maybe it's right on. It's just going to be crazy.
Yeah, just the amount of talent. I was just talking about it. We saw Zach Wilson's pro day on Friday. I'm sure you guys caught some of that. We saw Justin Fields pro day today. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he surely showed up with some great throws. I think one thing that's getting lost in this draft class is Justin Fields. And because I think Justin Fields has the potential to become a top quarterback in the NFL, right? He has all the intangibles. He's mobile, which is what you need to be nowadays to play in this league. He's mobile. He has a good arm, and he has some mechanical errors, but those are always you can always bend those out, and it all comes with coaching. I think the Panthers are still probably the best fit for Justin Fields, but he's getting lost in the Zach Wilson conversation. Zach Wilson's been so impressive, and I've been focusing on him a lot because I am a Jets fan. But man, Justin Fields running a 4.44 today, yeah, and that's just I think the only quarterback to run a faster 40 was RG3 back in 2012, right? And
I think Michael Vick.
Maybe, yeah, Michael Vick probably also. But man, are you guys seeing what I think Justin Fields has some real potential here. What are you guys seeing from him, and what are you expecting? And do you think it is a matter of where he ends up? Ray, let's start with you.
Well, the thing about it is that, again, I alluded to it like right there in the opening as far as talking about the fact that we go into the draft. We're talking a month ago. It's Trevor Lawrence and then the rest of the entire draft class. And then all of a sudden in the last 2 months, now we're talking about quarterbacks maybe going 1 through 5. And then there's some mock drafts that are saying offensive players go 1 through 10, which still leaves great defensive players on the board for the Buccaneers at 32 if they don't trade out of that draft pick or they look to provide depth. You're talking about a running back like Etienne being still maybe available at the end of the first round. I mean, this is crazy. But yeah, you're talking about the intangibles these quarterbacks had, and of course, it's crazy 2020, less than seasoned. Everything was upside down. It's going to come down so much to the evaluation that these teams are able to do through the draft process, and they're not going to be able to bring these players in for these on-site visits. So these pro days are so important.
Yeah, Harry, what about you?
I think he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback. I do have my mock draft here in the first top 10 picks, and you're going to be very surprised where I have him going.
We'll talk about it in just a little bit, but Friday was a crazy day, right? For the NFL, right? Not only was it Zach Wilson's pro day, but while Zach Wilson's pro day was happening, and I was oozing over that. So let's get through the timeline here, right? The 49ers trade to number 3 with the Dolphins, and they give them essentially, let's just talk about what they gave them for this year. The Niners move up to number 3. The Dolphins end up at 12 this year, right? And then probably like 15 seconds later, the Dolphins trade back into the top 10 with the Eagles up to number 6. And then the Eagles are now sitting at pick number 12. Let's break down each of the teams that moved in this in the draft so far. So the 49ers right now are sitting at number 3. Everything they're saying is that they're not getting rid of Jimmy G. One, the Patriots aren't interested. They already said they're not interested in whatever. We know teams say a lot of things, but I legitimately don't think that they're interested in Jimmy G just because, well, one, that cap hit is a monstrosity, and then it wouldn't benefit the Niners to get rid of him right now, right? Even if whoever you drafted 3, whether that is a Trey Lance, a Mac Jones, or a Justin Fields, he needs to stay. All 3 of those guys need to sit behind somebody. And if it is Mac Jones, like we're hearing, from what I'm hearing, it's Mac Jones or Trey Lance, but the Niners are super interested in Mac Jones. He needs to sit behind a guy like Jimmy G, who he has a very similar skill set to him. What do you think the Niners end up doing at number 3, Ray? And then Harry, we'll get into your mock draft afterward.
Well, the more we hear and the more we analyze it, and of course it breaks down. John Lynch, right? Going into the Hall of Fame here in 2021, Buccaneer great, Denver Bronco, and you'd want to say that he's going to be a defensive-minded coach, but then again, the problems with other than injuries on the defensive side of the ball wasn't the Niners' issues last year. Of course, we said it was Garoppolo. They got to the Super Bowl 2 years ago in spite of Jimmy Garoppolo. The irony in that statement is, I find, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I believe that Alex Smith is still out there as a free agent. Now, I don't know if Alex got comeback player of the year and doesn't wish to play, but if you're talking about somebody as a veteran that you just want to come in and mentor somebody, why wouldn't you take maybe and $25 million for Garoppolo to be a mentor with those 49ers? I think that all arrows point to the fact that Garoppolo would be there, mentoring a rookie quarterback this year. But at the same time, I think to myself, aren't there better options if that's your only case? And as far as the Patriots not being interested, the Patriots realize they don't want to pick up Garoppolo at $25 million, but they've got Cam Newton at $5 million, goes up to 13 with incentives. And Belichick's not a dumb coach. He realizes that if the Niners end up getting rid of Garoppolo, he can get him for a lot cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. There's just the Patriots are sitting at 15. I don't think they might be able to get Mac Jones. I don't know. You guys have to check out my first round mock draft coming up on the Bucks Report website. My first article written on there. Not only will I be doing a complete first round mock draft, all 32 teams. I will be doing a 7-round Buccaneers mock draft as well. And for my NFL one, you guys are going to be surprised who I have falling to the Buccaneers at 32 because I think you guys are going to be very, very happy with it. But the moment we've all been waiting for here, a moment that I never thought that we would get to see. Harry the Greek did a mock draft. A mock draft. Guys.
I know. Tell me about it.
Harry.
Yes.
Let's go through it, okay?
Absolutely. First 10 picks, and then I'll give you the 32nd pick.
All right. Number 1 pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock. Harry, who are they taking?
I had to go really deep here, man. Trevor Lawrence.
Listen, the surefire pick, right? I mean, there's
going to have to. He's going to put. I don't think he's the best quarterback in the draft. I just think he's going to sell the most tickets with Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. We've talked about that on previous shows. Do I think they're going to be great? Yeah, I think they're going to be very successful. But I don't even think he's the best quarterback in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about Trevor Lawrence yet. I think everything in the NFL is a matter of where you land, right? There's not a lot of players there's no quarterback that I can think of that will just walk in and with nothing around him be able to succeed. Nobody, right? Trevor Lawrence, they not only need to get him an offensive line because that Jacksonville offensive line is not exciting, but he needs more receiver weapons, right? Whoever they have. I mean, Laviska Shenault, it's a solid, versatile player. I'm a big fan of him. But other than that, right, DJ Chark is not a wide receiver one.
Yeah, they missed out on Allen Robinson. They missed out on Chris Godwin. So sorry for Jacksonville.
They even miss out on Corey Davis because he comes to New York.
Yes, they did.
With my Jets. But let's get into the more interesting picks here. Pick number 2.
Jets. Jets.
My New York Jets, Harry. Who do you have them taking? They're on the clock at number 2.
Dun, dun, dun. Offensive lineman from Oregon, Penei Sewell. Still have them going. I still have them going. I still have the Jets keeping Sam Darnold. They're going to finish above 500, and they are making the playoffs with Sam Darnold. You have a chance of drafting a Penei Sewell right now, who's a immediate plug and play. This guy is a starter for the next 10 years and a perennial Pro Bowler. Best lineman that I've seen coming out in the draft in many, many, many years. This guy is that good.
Yeah, I mean, Ray, before I talk about it, what are you thinking about that pick at 2?
I'll be short, which for me, to be brief, is impossible. But if Harry, I agree that I've said all along that Sam Darnold could still have been the guy, Jacob, even though I've already apologized to you for this. But if that's the pick, then obviously the Jets would have to go ahead and play some quarterback roulette and look to trade back a couple of spots because there probably is a team at 3 or 4 who would love to go Zach Wilson, who might sell the rest of their soul that they have remaining to move to that number 2 position. But then you'd have to see how that plays out. And in that case, the Jets would not only still get that offensive lineman that would be a bookend lineman and take him for the next 10 years, but they would also pick up some draft capital.
All right, Harry, I don't disagree with you a lot, but I need to. This is the only time I'm gonna. I don't want to say I'm gonna rip into it because I'm not. Because guess what? It's a real possibility that this happens. It is. It's a possibility. But here's what I'm thinking, especially after Friday. This is why I think.
Let me explain to you why I don't think they're drafting a quarterback, even though there's a lot of shade. And I'm going to let you get to your point. Okay. I read a lot of media reports out of New York, out of Chicago, and I kind of trust, within an arm's reach of what they're saying. New York was steadfast on getting a first-round pick for Sam Darnold. Their expectations have dropped significantly. Okay, there have been rumors, per reports and very reliable sources, if the Bears were interested in Sam Darnold, they weren't giving up more than a third-round pick, and the Jets are almost willing to take it for him. Okay, if that happens during draft day, yes, you're going to get your Zach Wilson, but I don't see it happening. It's such a slap in the face. You have a quarterback that's been around that started how many games now?
I mean,
okay, A lot.
2 seasons, 3 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I still think he's a formidable quarterback who can turn into a star in the National Football League. But go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to bust your bubble. But I don't see them getting rid of him, and they're not going to get a first-round pick for Darnold. That's over.
No, they're not. No, they're not going to get a first-round pick for Darnold. But I don't think that a third rounder would be. It would be a lot. I don't think a third rounder would be too little, just because of how terribly Sam Darnold has played in the last 3 years.
That's because of Adam Gase.
It's okay. He was solid in his rookie year under Todd Bowles. I understand that was his rookie year, so it's
well,
hard
Jacob. So what you're saying is, and let's bury the lead on Saleh being your new defensive-minded coach. What you're saying is that Darnold had some success with a defensive-minded head coach, and now you have another defensive-minded head coach and the number 2 overall pick, and you don't see the fact that you could maybe use that as draft capital and still give the Sam Darnold experiment a try. They
were a success to an extent. They were 6-10 that year.
Yeah,
right?
They weren't great.
Right? They were not a great football team. They were actually they weren't 6-10 that year. Were they? I think they were 3-3. They had the number 3 pick in that year's draft, right? Because they got Quinnen Williams the year after. So it wasn't. He didn't win a lot of games, and I understand it's not only the quarterback that wins football games, but he didn't play well enough to. He didn't play well enough, is what I'm going to say.
As a rookie, though, as a rookie on a team that was able to draft him number 2 overall the year before because they sucked.
Right, exactly.
So he didn't have great success the second year, again, because they still kind of were improving. I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead. It's your show, brother.
All right. And no, here we go. Because you guys, 2 of the smartest people I know, two of the guys with the most football knowledge I have ever seen. This is what I have to build you guys up. I have to build you guys up because I'm about to tear you to shreds.
Here we go. I love it.
So here's after Friday, and I was on the fence about what the Jets were going to do at number 2, right? I have my opinions on what they should do, but I didn't know what they were actually going to do until Friday. Joe Douglas has been great with hiding his hand and not really showing anybody what he's going to do. But from what we heard, the Philadelphia Eagles wanted to trade up to number 3. The only way they were going to do that would be if they thought they could get Zach Wilson. They didn't think they could get it. Joe Douglas spent a lot of time in Philadelphia, right? It's where he helped build up that Super Bowl winning team over in Philly. He knows Howie Roseman very, very well, and Jeff Lurie, and he knows this team. They know what he's going to do. I have a feeling that they kind of know what he's going to do. What we've heard is that, Joe Douglas loves his draft picks, right? He gave away Jamal Adams. He got 2 first-round picks for him. We thought that we were going to get the first rounder for Darnold, but he loves his draft picks, right? This is something we all know. Joe Douglas loves his picks. If you think that the 49ers didn't give the same offer, if not more, for that number 2 pick and call up the Jets and say, hey, you guys want to move down to 12, we heard the Eagles are also interested. Well, some stuff with the Eagles, I'm sure, right? I'm sure that all 3 of these teams were in communications. And Joe Douglas said no. He said no, thank you. And then the Niners settled on 3. I am so very confident that the Jets are going to select Zach Wilson in this draft. Just everything about it, right? I mean, everything we saw on Friday. They turned down that offer from the Niners. That's the offer that we were going to give up for Deshaun Watson. Hypothetically, if we won't talk about it but that's the offer that we would. That's the offer for Deshaun Watson that you give up. The 3 first-round picks, the 3rd rounder, and this and that, and blah blah.
Well, Jacob, though. I'm so glad because I was so against the Buccaneers entertaining any offers when they had the number 1 overall pick in '87. We take Vinny Testaverde out of the University of Miami.
I know him very well too.
Yeah, you do. I was so against in '95 when we had the number 6 overall pick or 5, and we take Trent Dilfer out of Fresno State, of course, because he came from the Ted Tedford experiment. But what I'm saying is that Zach Wilson's a BYU guy, almost West Coast, and you talk about a Zach Wilson with a Kyle Shanahan as a coach, and the Niners already traded their soul to go to 3. What would the Niners do with the Jets to go to number 2? And then once the Jets are at 3, what would someone else do with the Jets to go to 4 and go for a Justin Fields or to go for one of the other quarterbacks? And
I'm going to answer that for you, Ray.
It's your mock draft, Harry.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to answer this one for you. They're not going to have to go to number 2. That's why the 49ers went all the way to 3. They already know that they're going to keep Sam Darnold.
Ooh.
John Lynch already is probably one of the smartest GMs. I didn't say the smartest one because the smartest GM's here in Tampa. He's one of the smartest GMs in all of football. Okay, at this point, they fleeced the Bears. They thought that they fleeced Tampa Bay with Tristan Wirfs when they got him that one other year. They know how to make those draft picks happen. That's why they're going to number 3. That's where I have Zach Wilson going. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's a deep pick. Okay, no one expects that to happen. I really hope, Jacob, that you do get Zach Wilson at number 2, but I don't see that happening because I still think that they believe in Sam Darnold. Forget about what the pundits are saying up there. What they're saying and what they're actually doing are two different things.
I'm going to say this. I'll say this. I love Sam Darnold. I've tried my hardest for the last however long to be the biggest Sam Darnold guy that I can. I have been a huge believer in him, and I still am.
Did you give him mono? Did you give him mono?
I might have. Honestly. But to look at what's going on and what's happened and the culture change that's happening in New York right now in Florham Park, it's gonna continue with the quarterback change. And Sam Darnold, I want him to be I think he can be so successful somewhere else, Harry. I agree with you. But I don't think he can be successful in New York.
I want him in Chicago.
I would love for him to go to Chicago, but you guys,
I would love to see him in Chicago, but they got the red rifle.
Your PR team they're already tweeting out your social media guys QB1 with the red rocket over there.
Yeah, but they've also said that they're going to make an offer for Darnold before the draft for a third rounder. Whether or not the Jets take it, they don't know, and that's really reliable sources.
This is also the same team that invited Mike Lennon to their draft party and then traded up to draft Mitch Trubisky that same year.
And hang on. Then the following year or 2 years later, you spend $20 million to get Nick Foles, and you give up a third-round pick. Oh, and that year, Andy Dalton was available. He was a free agent.
Unbelievable.
Okay? So the following
$3 million, right, or something like that.
Yeah. So the following year, they get Andy Dalton. All right. So now that you know who I like at pick number 3, let's go to pick 4. Who do you think I have at pick 4?
Well, who drafts at number 4 again?
The Atlanta Falcons are on the clock.
Here we go. Falcons. Who do you think Harry the Greek took?
I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts.
Justin Fields.
You're both wrong. It's going to be Patrick Surtain.
Oh,
that's the first surprise.
The bomb drop from Harry the Greek, the nuke. Patrick Surtain, Harry, that's a great pick.
You know why? I'm going to explain why. They lost their safety, even though that Patrick Surtain doesn't really play safety. They lost one of their good corners a couple years ago to the to the Detroit Lions, who's now playing for the Chicago Bears. Again, my mind's not really working too great. They really need to rebuild that defense. Let me tell you something. Atlanta's not that far away from being over a 500 team. They just don't have a defense, and they're going to have to draft it this year because Matt Ryan is still a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League, and they still have a plethora of wide receivers and a formidable running game. So they get a defense. They're going to be a force to be challenged with.
Top 10, Harry? Really?
And they get Ruiz at center last year out of Michigan at center, so they've already built that offensive line. Matt Ryan's 102 years old, so you want to see the Falcons have a transition plan for that.
Top 12. Okay,
no,
top 12.
Matt Ryan can still throw the biscuit, though. I mean, I agree with that.
He would be a top 10 quarterback if they didn't have Todd Gurley in the backfield. If they had a real plow in the backfield, like a Leonard Fournette, let's just say, or a really, really good running back,
like Matt a trade Ryan, back. Like a trade back, maybe for all the way down to 20 something and get Najee Harris.
Yeah, you hear what I'm talking about.
What if the Bucks? What if Jason Light entertains a trade for Leonard Fournette on draft day? I mean, let's go, guys. Jason Light, GM of the year, they win. Well, Rojo. What if the Buccaneers entertain those kind of thoughts? Rojo's still in the last year of his the fourth year of his rookie contract. Yeah. What if the Buccaneers entertain well, we don't want to trade him in the same division because we know that the victim of volume is a talented running back. But I mean, what if we haven't even talked about that? But it's your draft, your mock draft, Harry. I apologize.
Yeah, it's my mock draft. That's the first one I've done.
Harry, I don't think I think the number one rule of mock drafts that I have so far is that I'm not using any trade downs or trading or whatever. I think I'm sure you're doing the same thing here with no trades in the top 10, which makes sense. But I think the Falcons, they could trade down, still get Patrick Surtain. I think they could trade down a few picks. There's going to be someone who wants to jump up to 4 to get a whatever quarterback is left on the board there. But
I don't think they want to take a chance with it. They're going to probably, they really want to solidify. They got to do something with that passing game because they have to do something against Tampa's and especially Tampa's offense.
Well, Harry Patrick Surtain is a nasty corner. He's so good.
His father was even better.
You guys know who the Falcons tight end is.
Yeah, I mean Hayden Hurst is he's solid, but the reason I like Kyle Pitts, I have Kyle Pitts going at 4 in my mock draft, but that's I
did not know that, but I was suggesting that, Jacob, is that even with Hayden Hurst and the fact that that guy didn't show up as much as they thought he was going to last year, and what would a Pitts mean to Atlanta Falcons and a relief valve for Ryan out of the backfield or out of the tight end position.
And what I want to say is, like, when people are like, oh, well, they have Hayden Hurst. Well, okay, but when if let's say you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? This one will hit close. This one will hit close, and well, obviously you guys will understand it. So if you're sitting there with Rob Gronkowski, right? Or let's say you have a younger Rob Gronkowski with the same skill set, because I think they're Hayden Hurst is talented, but he's not an elite tight end. And you get a nice little offer, and you have the ability to take Darren Waller instead. Who are you keeping on this team right now?
Wow.
And you have a chance to get a guy like Kyle Pitts, who is going to be a stud. There is no doubt in my mind Kyle Pitts is going to be a top 3 corner by his sophomore year.
You take him, now you're scoring 41 points a game and you're still losing by 3.
Right. I know, but that's
okay. I mean, let's be real. It'll be like the old Miami Dolphins way before your time. Hell, it's almost before my time. Miami versus San Diego Chargers between Marino and Dan Fouts. Those games were epic, man. There was like 80, 90 points every time they played.
Or the 2019 Buccaneers. It's very similar. Very similar. You guys could be scoring 37 points a game, but you're still losing 40 to 37.
That was totally self-inflicted, though.
Yes, it was. It absolutely was.
I absolutely love my next 3 picks. You guys
who's at 5? What team picks at 5?
The Cincinnati Bengals select at number 5, and this is a big pick here, Harry.
Got to get Joe Burrow. Got to get Joe Burrow some tools.
You got it, Mr. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver from Alabama.
That's a solid pick.
That's a solid pick. I think they go Jamar Chase if he's sitting on the board.
Well, that's who wait a minute. Right to the Miami Dolphins. That's who's going there. It's going to be Jamar Chase from the wide receiver from LSU
at number 6.
I think they want to reconnect the Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow LSU connection that from back in that Joe Burrow year that got him to be that number 1 pick. But Harry, Jalen Waddle's a very, very good wide receiver. I think that the Dolphins could. I mean, there's so many guys in this draft. Is what's so crazy, right? If
there was such a thing as a 5-tool player in football, like there is in baseball, that was Jalen Waddle.
Jalen Waddle's a really, really good player.
To your narrative, Jacob, the fact that even though we do a mock draft, we don't do trade backs talking about that, but why this, not only that last Friday, by the way, great job on Friday with that show you had.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, but that was a great show covering, because I'm so glad Bucks Report was able to take it live, talking about the craziest, a month before the draft, and we have teams trading up into the first round and trading away 17 and a half first round picks from the next 10 years. But you talk about reuniting Joe Burrow with his wide receiver from LSU, and the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals sitting there at number 6 or was it 6 or 7?
5.
Could entertain a team that wants to jump up for a Waddle or wants to jump up for one of those quarterbacks that are still on the board. So Cincinnati may be able to move back a spot or 2, pick up an extra second and or a first round in future considerations, and still get that receiver hook up with Joe Burrow back to have that reunion of the 2 LSU players.
Absolutely, and I think the Bengals, if Harry, I agree. If the Jets do take Sewell at 2. The Bengals go receiver, but if Sewell is sitting there at 5, and would you say that the Bengals go receiver, or do you think they take Sewell out of Oregon to help solidify that offensive line, which is so needed after what happened?
They'll take Sewell in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that's what I think. Also, that's what I think. Also,
they would take him in a heartbeat. As a matter of fact, I don't have him getting past Atlanta.
All right,
to be honest with you, I really don't. But I mean, Atlanta does need a really, really good corner in Patrick Surtain. Even though there's arguments that the other corner that's coming out of college, I keep forgetting his name, is supposed to be better. I've
Caleb
watched
Farley, I think.
That's it. Yeah, but Patrick Surtain.
No, he's a lockdown
He's just
guy.
he's just like his father. His father was a stud. He's a stud. Can't wait to give you number 7.
All right, the Detroit Lions are up at number 7 here. All right,
I'm dropping a bomb.
All right, let me guess. Can I take a guess? Can I?
Sure,
Harry,
absolutely.
I know you quite well already. Yes. I'm gonna go with that. You have the Detroit Lions taking Mac Jones or Trey Lance.
Nope.
Okay, I was wrong. I will sit here and say I was wrong. Is it Devontae Smith?
It was a defensive player.
A defensive end from Miami, that kid that showed up today at his Miami at the Hurricane Pro Day.
No, I'm gonna give him even a little bit. He plays in the tiny 10.
Micah Parsons, or whatever.
You got it. Linebacker out of Penn State, probably the best linebacker out there. Let me tell you something. Once he goes to Detroit, he's going to make that team a different team, especially defensively. I mean, he has got that attitude. He's got that Roquan Smith type of speed. He's a thumper. He can get out in pass coverage. He's really that good.
He is. He's a really, really solid player. I mean, I have him falling a little bit more just because I think just the pure amount of offensive weapons and corners in this draft, and just it's very team needy, right? I mean, you have team needs between, the Dolphins need a receiver and the Bengals need a receiver on offensive line, and not a lot of teams are going after defense in the top 10 from what I'm seeing. I think the Falcons could go defense. I agree the Lions could go defense if Micah Parsons is sitting there. I think, and then we'll get to number 8, 9, and 10, but I think there's a few teams there that are also going to go defense, Harry. Number 8, the Carolina Panthers are selecting there. Who do you have them taking, Harry?
Quarterback, Ohio State, Mr. Justin Fields.
That hurts.
It's going to be an open competition for quarterback in Carolina this year. It's either going to be Justin Fields or Trey Lance, and I'm giving you the 9th pick as well. If Carolina takes Justin Fields, Denver's going to go out and give up on their QB, and they're going to take Trey Lance. If Carolina takes Trey Lance, Denver can't hold themselves. They'll take Justin Fields.
I'm gonna be honest. I really like. I have Fields going 8 in almost all my mock drafts. I love Justin Fields. I love him I love the fit with the Panthers. I think that's.
Wait a minute. You have him going to the Panthers?
I do.
Wow.
I know.
Hey, I'm doing my first mock draft, and you're the expert, and I got the same pick as you. That's pretty good.
But Fields at 8. I don't think the Broncos go quarterback at 9 unless Justin Fields is sitting there. I think Trey Lance doesn't have enough in-game experience that you could have him in an open competition with Drew Lock. I think if you sign a guy like Alex Smith, then you could say, okay, well, maybe he'll learn from him. But I don't think the Broncos go quarterback unless Justin Fields is sitting there at 9.
Unfortunately, everybody has Mac Jones going to the 49ers all the way at number 3. Listen, it's going to be just like it was when Aaron Rodgers was going to be drafted. You're going to see a whole bunch of this through the first round.
Yeah, well, he's not even going to be there. He's not even going to.
The man's going to go late in the first round.
Yeah. Is it going to be? Oh, I won't ask yet, because you know what I would love, Harry. I know.
Don't curse me.
I'm not. How about we get you back on before draft night? And we'll get picks 11 through 20. And then we can go 20 through 32. So we can.
I would love to do that with you.
We can split it up into 3 sections here. And Ray, I'd love to have you back on as well for that.
No, Jacob, you guys, I'll be just like I've never hidden the fact that I do not get into ultimate fighting. I'm not a big fan of that aggressive type of fighting. I've always put it out there. I'm a boxer. I'm a boxer. I love a lover of boxer by nature. I love the sweet science. And at the same time, I like to look at mock drafts because of the fact that they introduce us to players that we may not have already known about. And you guys, when we're hustling, especially here on Bucks Report, all these our mock drafts we have, it introduces me to players. But I'm such a historical guy. I'm looking backwards, but this has actually been the most fun I've had talking about a mock draft. So thank you guys.
Absolutely right. All right, Harry, we're moving on. We're on number 10 now, right?
Yep.
Because you have Trey Lance going number 9 to the Broncos. Number 10, the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Where do you have them going in the first round this year after they went receiver last year after having CeeDee Lamb fall all the way to 17?
I am going to say they're going to stay offense, even though their defense is so pitiful. and they have to do something to protect Dak Prescott. I have him going offensive lineman out of the great college of Northwestern, Mr. Rashawn Slater.
He's okay. I'm going to throw this out there right now too. This is if Penei Sewell was not a player, it was not in this year's draft. Rashawn Slater is far and away the best offense, the second best.
Do you really think so?
Tackle. I think even if the Jets go Sewell at 2, that there's a chance the Bengals go Slater at 5. I really think
I don't doubt it, man, because I had them 1A and 1B. I didn't have them 1 and 2. I had actually 1A and 1B. It was that tough for me because I've watched this kid from Northwestern play. He's like a huge lawnmower going through a big field. I'm not kidding you. He does not bog down at all.
He's more NFL ready than Penei Sewell is. Sewell is going to be a tank, but he is very underdeveloped from everything I'm watching on him. In terms of who he's blocking against, stuff like that. Slater's going up against some top guys here. He has a top tier coach in Pat Fitzgerald there, and I think Slater, whatever team ends up getting him, they're going to need him to step up, because if it is the Cowboys, there's a chance that I think the Giants go edge rusher at number 11, and that means there's some elite edge rushers coming into that NFC East next year. And the Cowboys are going to need someone to block for Dak Prescott, or else we're going to see a repeat of last year.
Without question.
And let me ask you guys this. So last year, right, going into the draft, because the Buccaneers, we knew they were drafting high, and we knew offensive line was their pick. And, of course, we have Andrews out of Georgia. He ends up going to the Giants. But we have Mekhi Becton, who the Jets pick, and they put at left tackle, solid pick. And then Tristan Wirfs literally falls into our lap, if you will, and we bring him in here, right? And then this year, because of a shortened season, it was such a weird, the pandemic, it was such a weird off-kilter type of year. And all the mock drafts that I've been seeing have quarterback, wide receiver, quarterback, wide receiver going 10. This is the first time I've actually gotten involved in a conversation where we're talking offensive line. And does anyone see the irony or the pendulum swing, how last year it was all about protecting the quarterback, and this year it's all about drafting a quarterback?
Yeah, and I think it's
I do that every year.
I think it's mostly because I think that the quarterbacks in last year's draft weren't as highly rated as the quarterbacks in this year's draft. No one had. Everyone had. There were people. I will admit I was wrong. People had Tua ranked higher than Burrow and Herbert. People had Herbert. Oh, Herbert's going to be a bust. This guy's going to be a bust. Guess what? Justin Herbert comes in, is the best rookie, and I think he will be the best quarterback in that draft class from last year. So there's.
I can agree with you on that. He's that good.
It's this all this evaluation. Nobody knows, because the Chargers surround him with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry. Now you do need to protect him, but you look in Cincinnati, they did nothing to help him out besides drafting T. Higgins. And they had Tyler Boyd. That was the only help he had. They had no defense, so he was constantly out on the field. Their running game was below average because they had a terrible offensive line. Tua comes in. I don't even know what the Dolphins were doing last year in terms of Tua's development, because it made no sense how they did. I think they should have let Fitzpatrick run out the entire year. And then this year, it's the big question mark of, can Tua play? Is Tua going to do this?
Yep,
and then,
I agree.
And now Tua is the smallest guy, and there's a chance Tua is, forgetting Jordan Love because we don't know anything about him, there's a chance Tua is the worst starting quarterback out of those top 3 next year. And it's not an unrealistic thing. I think, if anything, it's likely, right?
Yeah, I would have to say so. I think they really did a lot of damage to his psyche and his confidence on what had happened by bringing him in too soon. Let's not forget that young man came off a horrific injury on his hip.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy just couldn't stay healthy. He wasn't healthy enough to play. His wheels, he didn't look nearly as fast as he did in college. And that's just because he just was not ready. And, that's a shame, because the Miami Dolphins could have made the playoffs last year with Fitzmagic under center.
Not only could they have made it to the playoffs, I think they could have made a solid run. I think they could have won a playoff game.
I do too as well.
Yeah, I think they would have ended up playing Buffalo, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, I'm almost correct. I believe you are correct. You know how there's always a player or two that falls out of the top 10, and let alone like Aaron Rodgers did, going late in the first round. Okay.
Yeah.
You know how Tristan Wirfs fell into the Buccaneers' laps last year?
Yep.
Okay. I have a very, very good defensive player falling all the way to them. And that is my pick, probably the deepest pick. He's not going to go in the top 15. Defensive lineman out of Michigan, Kwity Paye.
Kwity Paye all the way to 32.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I was talking to the always wonderful Andrew Faubert on my show last week, and we talked about Kwity Paye. And Kwity Paye, we both had him going number 11 to the Giants, but he's one of those guys who can go anywhere from 10 to 33. It's all the same.
That was my deep pick. He's going to one that people are going to forget about.
I had I had the defensive lineman Christian Barmore falling to Alabama from Alabama falling to the Bucs in my first mock draft. There's like I said, there's so much talent. You're gonna see these guys slip down, and we're gonna be looking next year and say, because inevitably 50% of the guys who are drafted in the first round bust. That or don't live up to the hype. Let's say. We're going to be looking back and we're going to say there's going to be guys who are in the 20s, and we're going to be like, how did we let them fall there? And we're going to be saying, what were the Vikings doing at 14 to draft this guy instead of going this guy who ended up going 22?
Jacob. That's I know. I've seen the tape on Zach Wilson. I love this kid. I love this kid's intangibles, but we're talking about a guy who was in a three-way battle for the starting position going into last season, and all of a sudden he's number 2 overall in the NFL draft. And prove me wrong. I hope they take him, the Jets, and I hope he balls out. And but I'm just like, it's those type of prognostications that I always go. That makes me have reason for pause for cause.
I just read one of the comments. I'm lying. I'm laughing my ass off here.
Is it this one from Troy Polamalu right in the bottom?
Yes, that's just hilarious.
I guess Florida mosquitoes aren't attracted to Ray and Harry.
And the one above it,
aren't or are?
No, they're not. They're not.
They are not. What's the weather down there in Florida right now?
It's kind of miserable. It's like 83, no clouds. I mean, no clouds. I mean, it's pretty nice.
Well, tomorrow in New Jersey, up here, it's I think it's gonna be like cold, or low 40s and pouring rain. So that's gonna be.
I'm sorry, buddy.
But welcome to
Ray,
New Jersey.
Ray, when the sun's out.
The guns are out.
Guns are out, baby.
So, Jacob, you're telling me that tomorrow's weather in New York is not going to be conducive for maybe showing off new art?
It might not be.
Or showing off new tattoos?
Oh.
I think I got to transition. We got to talk about that. I know it's your show, brother, but you got to talk about that Bruce Arians tattoo.
Bruce Arians got a tattoo. Bruce Arians did get a tattoo. And I don't have a picture of it on here that I can pull up, but it's a tattoo, all right. It's there.
It's a solid tattoo.
It's a nice tattoo. Mike Evans, I think, also got a really solid one, didn't he?
Mike Evans got a lot of solid ones.
Yeah. Does Mike Evans have a sleeve? I don't remember. I think he might.
He's got both on both arms.
Yeah.
He's got some great art. And I mean, that's one of the things I loved about it. I wrote a great article on Mike Evans a few months back when Tyreek Hill threw him some love on. And there's the tattoo right there.
There it is.
That's a 71-year-old. That's a grandfather's tattoo. And
that's a nice tattoo right there. Hey, let me go full screen on that. Oh yeah.
That's solid. And I've seen a lot of great art. I just talked about this last Thursday night. There's been some great Buccaneer art that I've seen since Super Bowl 55. But you're talking about a coach that said, well, I'll get a tattoo if we win a Super Bowl. They win a Super Bowl. He gets that tattoo. And I told Harry, and Harry countered with some great opposition, but I told him, to me, I don't know why, but the first one I saw that and I realized that he came through and got that tattoo. For me, it was the most epic moment in Buccaneer history.
Yeah, and Harry, I thought it was kind of funny. The way you were holding up the tattoo, it looked like you had taken the picture of it. Do you want to reveal Bruce Arians to us over here?
They're tight.
Are you friends with him?
Hey, Bruce, come in over here. Come here, Bruce.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my former head coach will not be on the show anytime soon, and Adam Gase is not. If Robert Saleh, dude, if you want to come on the show here, I'd be more than happy to talk to you for as long as you want to talk on this show, because I have a lot to ask you for sure, especially on April 30th. But guys, all right. We're looking later in the draft, and it's the Buccaneers at 32, and you guys miss out on James White, and I think that in a lot of people's mock drafts, And this is where everybody, I've talked to Johnny Dean about it a lot. I've talked to a lot of other draft people. They just, these mock draft guys just throw positions into their mock drafts because they want to get a running back in the first. They want to talk about a running back or a safety. Like, I don't think I don't think Trevon Moehrig will go in the first round. I think the only chance he has is to the Ravens, and I don't think the Ravens go safety in the first round. But Travis Etienne out of Clemson. I think that there is a real chance, and Ray, you alluded to it before. I think there's a real chance that Travis Etienne falls to the Bucs at 32. And if he's sitting there, you take him. And he's the top receiving back in this draft. He can do it all. He's a great actual running back. And on top of that, like I said, you miss out on a guy like James White, so you do need that receiving back role because, God, were those Buccaneers running backs awful in the passing game last year. But Harry, looked like you had to say something. Oh, there's a problem. There's a problem with the sound here. We got
no. You can hear me now. There's a problem with that. I did a Ray. I hit a button. But anyway, there's a problem with that. I mean, because if they took Etienne at that 32nd pick, what would Peter Blake do? Do you understand that poor guy's head? No, his head would explode because he wouldn't be able to use the word victim of volume anymore.
Well, I mean, do you think if you guys do draft a running back, do you guys trade Rojo? Do you guys cut him? What's the deal there? What's the cap situation looking like if you do cut Ronald Jones? And I know it's hard because he is a Tampa Bay. He's been there, I think, his whole career, if I'm not wrong. And it would be tough, but to get a guy like Etienne in the building, from everything we're hearing, man, it might be worth it.
Who do you get rid of, Rojo or Leonard?
Well, if it's Etienne on the board, then it's a foregone. Then we start talking about who they get rid of. But if Etienne, unless he's actually there, then the Bucs have to go edge rusher. They have to start looking.
Well, what if the Steelers shock the world and instead of everyone accepting the fact that they're going to take Najee Harris at 23 or at 24, they go with Etienne and Najee Harris is sitting there at pick 32. And then you, instead of having that receiving back, you now have that on the ground tough running back. Are you okay with then getting rid of Leonard Fournette or Ronald Jones, or would you only do it for Etienne?
I still say Kwity Paye.
Kwity Paye is the answer to all your problems. I agree, though. If there's a good edge rusher sitting there, I don't want to spoil anything. Check out my mock draft, my 7-round Bucs mock draft. But there's a certain edge rusher that isn't Kwity Paye, but I think he could be sitting there at 32, and I think you guys should absolutely get younger at that position.
100%. I mean, because JPP, we're so fortunate to have Jason Pierre-Paul on this defensive line. And of course, and we get Shaq back, and Shaq's not just under a 1 year now, but you got to start looking for that right defensive end. We've got to start looking for that edge rusher. And the Buccaneers could do a lot worse. If the one they want isn't on the board at number 32, then there's going to be a team that's going to be somewhere in the low in a second that'll be willing to give something else up in draft capital to move to 32 to get that player that they covet the most. And the Bucs may still be able to pick up a great defensive edge rusher.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. All right. We went through the Harry the Greek mock draft, at least the picks 1 through 10. We talked a ton of football because there was a ton going on, guys. I'm going to let you get out of here. I'm going to wrap this thing up in just a moment, a little bit early, but I think we certainly talked about a lot and covered all the topics that there is to talk about from this week. Guys, go ahead. Ray, we'll start with you. Tell us, promote yourself. Tell us where we can find you. Tell the world where they can find you. Tampa Bay Ray.
Thanks for having me. Just one last shout out again, guys. The second to last day of the month of March, Women's History Month. Shout out to Lori Locust, Mara Javadafar, the Buccaneers coaches, the insteps, the inroads that women are making in the NFL and all sports today. Thanks for having me. You can find me tomorrow night. I'll be on with Harry the Greek on Over the Under, and then of course on Sunday mornings on Cup of Ray.
Whoop, whoop. All right, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. I'll let you get out of here. Thanks for joining me, and I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, brother.
All right, peace. And now, Harry the Greek, my man, go ahead, tell everybody where they can find you that isn't right by your beautiful poolside right there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I do like my pool, actually. You can catch me here on the Over Under on Wednesday evening at 9. I'm with my co-host, Mr. Tampa Bay Ray, best of the Bay, by the way. And hopefully you'll be able to come on the show too as well, Jacob.
We'll see. We'll definitely see. It's definitely something I'm interested in. It's definitely something.
Absolutely. Well, you do have my first official mock draft. And before I go, as always, keep your bets low and your returns even higher.
That's a great line. That's going to be a shirt eventually, and I'll wear it. Once it's a shirt, I'll wear it on my show, Harry.
I appreciate it, Jacob. Have yourself a really good night, and hey, stay warm. It's a little warm here, okay, bro?
I don't want to talk about it.
See ya.
I'll talk to you, man. See ya. All right. And with that, yeah, guys, first of all, go check them out everywhere. The over-under Wednesday night, 9:00. It's fantastic. Those are two great guys. Ton of football knowledge. Harry and Ray, go check them out everywhere. But we're going to wrap tonight from the Hard Count Football Podcast Live. My name is Jacob Charnow. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. Be sure to go follow me on Twitter at Jacob Charnow, Instagram at Hard Count Football, and check out the Hard Count Football Podcast Live every single Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on Bucks Report and on the Hard Count Football YouTube channel, guys. Be sure to go check out other videos from Hard Count Football and subscribe.